Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe that Senator Durbin requested. Is it okay? Thank you. He's going to let me go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, there is fraud in so many areas of life. I mean, there's tax fraud, there's welfare fraud, there's Medicare fraud, there's Medicaid fraud. There is a lot of fraud. Correct? And yes, I guess we can focus on immigration fraud, which is part of what this hearing is all about, but it can, maybe Mr. Beer, since you have research in this area, with all of this the massive fraud that occurs, especially I would say in the Medicaid, Medicare space, do you think that immigration fraud constitutes the majority of the fraud that is going on in our country?
No, I have no way to possibly answer that question. I would just say, look, if someone's committing fraud to come to the United States, it's not something that's going to be quantified in the same way as stealing from Medicaid. I mean, it's just they're different measures. So, we looked at the monetary value. 95% of all the monetary losses to the government from government benefits fraud is by U.S. citizens, not non-citizens. And the non-citizen on a per capita basis is 30% less likely to...
Yeah, so I think that some of the other areas of fraud that I cited, these are massive fraud that are being committed. Sorry to say, and they ought to be investigated and prosecuted, but much of the fraud in our country is perpetrated by U.S. citizens, not by immigrants. Now, we know that this is a regime that is totally intent on deporting as many immigrants as possible. We have about 11 million undocumented persons. How this regime is supposed to be deporting all these people is really beyond me. But nonetheless, we have a Steve Miller who says, no, I want you all to arrest at least 3,000, get at least 3,000 people and put them into our detention facilities, for which they now have some $40 billion thanks to the big ugly bill. So you have all of these resources, including the Department of Justice. They are just about every department that has anything to do with law enforcement is being directed to immigration enforcement. So we have a regime that wants to deport people. And so we have this hearing that is focusing on fraud being committed by a group of Somalis. And I tell you, I listened to the depiction of Somalis as a country where they seem to be producing all these people who are prone to fraud. And I just want to have a really short response from the professor. When you were sat here listening to the portrayal of Somalis as basically fraud-prone, and having worked in a community with a lot of Somalis, did this portrayal of a whole people come as a shock to you?
It comes as a huge disappointment.
And not only that, did it strike you as being fair, a fair
it's
portrayal?
Not fair. The framing of this, on top of the president's statements, the framing of this hearing is wrong.
So
there's no evidence
yes.
the Somalis are responsible for a greater degree of illegality than any other immigrant population.
Yes. Okay. And Mr. Beer, you talked about reducing our deficit. I would say the majority of the 11 million undocumented people here, what are they doing? They are working. They are buying stuff. They are going to our grocery stores and doing all that. They're paying taxes. They even pay Social Security taxes, many of them, without ever hoping for any kind of payment from Social Security. So they are there being part of our community. That is why we have a whole ag segment saying our produce is dying literally in the fields and on the vines. See, these are, I don't know why we are sitting here focusing on a community that is just trying to make a life for itself. So rather than focusing on all the fraud that is going on and all these other massive areas of our lives, sitting here with yet another hearing, and I don't know how many more hearings we're going to have focusing on the Somalis, but it is all in the service of trying to come up with a way for our regime to justify going after a group of people. And since when do ICE agents and Border Patrol see as their mission beating up American citizens, murdering them, dragging them out of cars, and that is their mission and their jobs.
It's too hard to find fraudsters. That's the problem. There aren't everywhere on every street corner, so they're out harassing random people. That's the fundamental problem.
You know,
is that there
I
aren't
heard-
actually that many immigrant criminals. So what are they doing? They're harassing us.
Yes,
they're
so
harassing
I heard the
citizens of the
depiction that
United
they're
States.
doing their
Senator Britt.
jobs. That's part of the mission. Since when? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate